How about the gambler over here, man? Huh? Jeez. First draft. How many trades can you make in one day? Unbelievable.
Did you have an inkling that was going to be how it played? You kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday, but did you have a feel like that was out there for you guys?
Well, this happens a lot in day two, I think. People sit around all day and they see the board and they get anxious and maybe sometimes create urgency, and those picks can get hot. The interesting thing was it was pretty quiet till about while we were on the clock. Yeah. And we had about 3 or 4 different offers that we had to kind of mill through. So big credit to David Kristoff and Kunal Singh and Mark Thews and everybody that supports on that. They ran the numbers great, and we made the best deal that we thought for the Raiders. And I think if you look at the value of the trade and what we got, we felt pretty good about that. So
you ended up with, I think, 5 players out of the top 100. Was that important to you? I mean, this is considered a fairly deep draft when it came to stand-ups. Was that important to you to get that many picks within that kind of range right there, within the first 100?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have sat here yesterday and thought we could do that, but we were prepared to do it. And the way the board looked, it made sense to us. The value, I think, and you talked to a lot of people around the league, the value was in rounds 2 and 3, and for us to have as many, bolts to shoot into that one was something that we were after. And so I'm thankful it worked out and had the support of him, and it was a spirited draft room up there.
We had a great time.
It was great.
We wanted to create as much competition as we can, and so that's so important to this program, particularly getting started and all of that. Our players that are here know that that's coming, and that's the central theme in the program. So I thought to add these guys to the roster on this first day, first couple of days, fantastic. I think John did a great job.
If you both could address this, please. I know you wanted competition, but you also got players who, even your skill offensive players, have the same mentality. They just play tough, physical. They want to attack people. Would you talk about that mentality that you're looking for in new Raiders, please?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about it. We want guys that love football and want to compete and lay it on the line. I mean, you hear how much he talks about competing. I mean, and there's not going to be a place for you in this organization and in this team if you aren't willing to go out there and lay it on the line all the time. I mean, you'll get weeded out pretty quick. And so, I feel like as a personnel guy and with our scouts, we got to find the right kind of mentality to bring that to life. Otherwise, they're going to show up and by mid-August, he's going to say, well, these guys they won't give me their all, and that'll be a big miss by us. So we're excited about the quality of the man that we added tonight.
Jack kind of embodies that physical style of play. You just watched the tape. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and that's how he played. Did that back up with the person that you guys ended up meeting with and talking to?
Are you talking about Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. He was at LSU with Eddie Ogeron, and a guy that, we're real familiar with, have a lot of background with. Eddie's as tough as they come. And when Eddie left, he left. Jack was done. And they had a real connection themselves. And so this guy's got it in his heart and soul, man. He's really something. So I love that we're adding him to our team.
I already talked about last night about potentially acquiring extra picks, and you said the value is in rounds 2 and 3, so you got those players. But when you're on the clock, is that a function of just liking the deal, or is that guys that maybe are gone that you might have wanted and just decided they're no longer on the board now and bring back?
That's a great question. It's both. And, sometimes you can trade back and get your guy, and sometimes they go like that. And you just got to be happy with the deal that you're getting and realize that you're potentially passing on players you think can make an impact on your team and make your roster. We've got a great system upstairs too, and I'm proud of the way that they've worked and the way we've all come together in a short period of time, and that made it really, easy is the wrong word, but it gave us some confidence that we were doing the right thing, and that we made some good deals because of it, I think.
When you guys picked Darius Porter, first reaction was, "Oh, that's the Pete Carroll guy." Well, what is a Pete Carroll quarterback? What are you looking for in that spot?
He knows.
Well, yeah, really. Well, you go back through the years, we've drafted a lot of corners over the years, and we've always looked for guys that are really fast and guys that are really long and tall because of the style of the way we coach them. And we've had some pretty good ones, the one thing I think about the Darian that we took, he's a lot like Richard Sherman was. Richard Sherman was a wide receiver at Stanford until Harbaugh kicked him over to the other side of the ball. And he had 1 year playing corner, there's a lot of similarities in the makeup of these two kids, and Richard's his history is pretty bright, and so I have really high expectations for how this works out with Darian, and he kind of fits the mold.
As a follow-up on that, what is the key with teaching a guy like that when that start off as receiver and doesn't have as much experience as corner? What are usually, I know every player is different, but what are usually the aspects they need to refine on the most?
Yeah, well, one of the things I really like about guys coming from offense is they caught balls all their life, and getting there. And this game is about getting the football. And so, if you notice, you'll see Darren when you see his highlights and see him play and all that, he attacks the football really comfortably, and that means that he's at ease when the ball's coming in. And so, I don't think he had a penalty last year. Playing, that's a huge accomplishment for playing out there. But what we do is we give him a real style of play. We teach him how to play on the line of scrimmage. It's kind of historically started all here at the Raiders a million years ago when I first realized how to start making sense of press corners, with Michael Haynes and back with Lester in the day. And we've been doing it for a long time. And so there's a real style to it, and there's a real technique and skill to it that we share with these guys. And if they have the right makeup like that we're looking for, then we can bring them along quickly and really help them engage and help the football team at an early age.
John, Porter told us you didn't just get a defensive back, he wants to play special teams. Is that just kind of that football love you're looking for, just get me on the field?
Yeah, I just want to be on the field wherever it is. He blocked 5 kicks, I think, if I'm right. Yeah. And I know the special teams coaches are excited too. They see him as being a good gunner, and I've already heard from A.J. Cole too that he's going to be a lot better this year because he's got this guy. So, yeah, just guys that want to play football wherever it is, put the ball down. I want to run down the field and hit somebody and block a kick. It speaks to the guy.
Josh, the last couple picks, you took 2 college tackles. Is that where you see them playing? Is both of them being offensive tackles for you?
Yeah, I got that. Sure.
Yeah,
I'll take. Go. No, you got it.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
Yeah. No, we really see Caleb, trying to work on the inside spots, and so the chance to get Charles and to be a tackle, we'll find out if he can play on both sides. Played a lot of left tackle and looked really good doing that. We're just trying to get as much flexibility as we can, and kind of spread the wealth and let the guys compete in a spot where they really can get a good look and all that. So when these guys come in, they're going to get a great look. We do not hold them back and keep them out of the fire. We're going to put them in there right away and let them see where they stack up and make sure that the competition is really the theme that they're living with, and so Caleb, I'm looking right off the bat as him being an inside guy and Charles being an outside guy.
Specifically with Caleb, what did you guys like about his play style and what he can bring to the line?
I loved his energy. He's a high passion guy. He flies around the field, and anytime he got a chance to play football, he did. He told us a really cool story about the bowl game and wanting to play, and the backup quarterback was who played, and it was a guy that worked really hard his entire time there, didn't get a chance very often, and he wanted to be out there with him. There were guys on his team that chose not to play in the bowl game, and here's a guy going into his his last game and going into the draft, and he's got a lot to lose as a day 2 pick, but to be there for your teammate and just kind of the joy, the love to play football was something that I really took to, and you could see that in his play style too. I've gotten really good in my career. You can kind of guess the character of the player before you even read the profile based on the way they play, and he plays with that spirit.
John, it's not the most star-studded draft, or at least that's what people like to believe, but people do believe it's very deep. So if you believe that, how did that impact your strategy going into today, where you ultimately traded back twice?
Yeah, the more picks, the better. We turned 2 picks today into 4 and another 4 tomorrow. So we got 5 good players, we feel like. We got 6 more picks tomorrow, and listen, we wanted to, like Coach said, we wanted to load this roster up with young, competitive guys, and 9 picks was a good start, but having 11 right now is exciting, and we're only halfway through this really. We're not even picking players, we're not even halfway, so we got 6 opportunities tomorrow to add 6 more really good ones here.
I'm not sure if there's anything you can share about the phone calls that you guys make with the players after you draft them, but what does that moment mean to you when you're able to talk to them and change their lives, give them a moment that they've been dreaming of forever?
So Caleb was so excited he hung up on Coach. So he got over there, he wasn't even there.
What happened? He's in trouble with this. I want you to know that.
It's cool. Everyone's a different experience. Every kid's got a different personality. Sometimes they've got a million people in the family yelling in the background and the kid can't hear, and sometimes you can hear the hush, hush, hush. And listen, it's such a special moment in their lives. They've worked so hard to be there, and you think about the amount of people that actually get drafted in the NFL, it's so minuscule to the amount of people that actually play football. And to have a small part in that and to share in that moment with them is pretty special. It's my first time doing it, and I've enjoyed all 5 so far.
Yeah, it was really fun. Such a moment, and it's hard for us to picture what it means to these guys to finally get that call, and so we're just trying to make it as special as possible for them and memorable too. And it's a great moment in this whole process.
Charles Grant is a guy that a lot of teams really liked. Were you a little bit surprised he was there at 99, John?
Again, nothing surprises me in the draft, but I would say we're thankful that he was there. A chance to add a good athlete and a good person, can really move his feet, run into space. Chip is super fired up about getting him in there. He fits the scheme great. So, there was a great opportunity there. We took advantage of it.
In your previous stops, nearly 20% of your draft picks on day 2 were offensive linemen. How excited were you to get these two guys that were so experienced with 4 years as starters?
20% of my picks have been offensive linemen? Oh, I didn't know that. That's a good stat. I'm it's well documented. I love my linemen, and I would have felt pretty bad if we didn't come out of the first draft year with at least a couple of them. We would have been doing it wrong. So I'm glad the board fell the way it did, and there were some guys there that we could add to the program.
Talk about Charles Grant being a good person. When it comes to not just him, but all of these draft picks, what are the qualities within each of these people that you feel like link them as to why you made them Raiders?
You're looking at me, huh? Okay, that was a heavy-hitting question. Listen, there's a humility and an appreciation, I think, for every stop when I was with these guys. It wasn't like, oh, I should be here, or an entitlement to it. It was grateful to have come on a top 30 visit. Grateful that we spent time with them at the combine. Grateful to even be at the combine. And to me, like the best players I've been around, I would describe them as humble superstars. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to go on to be superstars, but there's a humility to them that I really appreciate, and a respect for the game and what they have out in front of them. That's really cool too. And it takes a special person, especially at a young age, to appreciate those things. And I think when you see these guys in the building and you get to interact with them, on every day, you'll see that as well.
It's all going to get determined on the field, but for Jack, what do you guys see him as? Like, what wide receiver spot would you see?
Well, he's really versatile. He can do everything. He's played outside and played inside. He's been a possession guy at times. He's really a catch and run guy. He's really physical. He's tough as you get as a receiver. He'll block like crazy. He's already brought it up on the phone, I think, in your first couple thoughts about a conversation with him, and so. We'll find his spot for him, but we see him as versatile, and we're counting on him to do a number of things. He's already been asked to, so we've seen it on film, and he's got really good understanding of the game, and he's about as fired up as a receiver can get, as far as being physical and crazy and wild, and wants to be on special teams and the whole thing. So we'll find it out, where the best fit is for him, but he's very, very much ready to do whatever we want.
Every prospect is different, but is there a common theme between your first 5 draft picks together?
Yeah, these guys are great competitors. That's what's really what we went in to find, and I think the whole process that we started with our scouts, and even though we picked them up midstream, we emphasized that from the beginning, that we want guys that really want to battle, and to the man. That's what we were able to find. We're going to stick to that as best we can, because we know that that's the makeup of the club that we want, and we got to do it one guy at a time, and so that's what we're shooting for.
John, when it comes to Charles Grant and you're looking at a player coming from a smaller school, what goes into that evaluation process of determining whether they can continue to elevate their game as they start playing against better competition?
Well, you want to see him dominate. Control for alignment, control the man in front of him. He's such an easy athlete. I'm sorry you guys saw the highlights. He can move his feet. He can run into space. He can sink his hips. There's gonna be a big learning curve for him, like there is all these guys. But guys coming from the FCS level that are trying to get to the NFL level, it's a big jump. But again, there's a competitive stamina to him and appreciation for what's out in front of him that's going to help him a lot as he goes along with the athletic ability. And just enjoyed watching his tape. There's a great joy to watching him play football.
John, with the understanding you still have more than half the draft to go, and I wouldn't ask you about a particular player that's still available. Have you considered quarterback at all when you've been on the clock in this draft?
Sure, we continue to maintain that we're always considering every position, especially quarterback, and so far it hasn't fallen, our way with the evaluations that we had. But we'll continue to do that with these 6 picks going forward.